Hi everyone. Clearly I'm not Luke, so sorry about that. So Luke, Emma and I work with the Medical Health Research Future Fund, which is run through the Department of Health. We're three of us actually based in Tasmania, which is pretty exciting. I've been with the fund for 2 years and Emma and Luke have joined since then. Luke unfortunately can't be here today. He's really quite unwell, and talking to him yesterday, there was no way he could stand up here and string two sentences together. He's got too much of a cough. So you get to listen to me. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land we are meeting on today and pay respects to traditional owners on the Muwinina people. So to pay respect to those past before us and acknowledge today's Tasmanian Aboriginal people who are the custodians of this land. And I love your acknowledgement of country this morning, and that photo was glorious. So this morning I'm going to talk about the MRFF, and it's really lovely to hear a context from Bruce about how this grant came to be and what it's actually done. So I'm really excited, as is Emma and as would Luke be if he was here, to hear about how we've actually made a difference. That's pretty important with what we do. So we'll talk about the MRFF and some of the background of that. I will talk about the Emerging Priorities and Consumer-Driven Research Initiative. That's where this funding for the flagship has come from. I don't work in that section, but I work in the branch that contains that section. So if there's any really tricky questions, don't come to me about them, but I can tell you where to ask the questions. And I'll let you know how you can keep connected with the MRFF and find some more information out. So first of all, I'd like to take you back to the establishment of the MRFF and help you understand where it comes in terms of being a priority-driven fund. It sits as a slightly different fund to some of the NH and MRC funding that is out there, and ARC funding that some people will be familiar with, and different governance requirements that it needs to operate, just to provide some context. So the MRFF is managed by the Future Fund Board of Guardians. The Board of Guardians was originally established to oversee the Future Fund, a sovereign wealth fund created in 2006 under the Howard government. Peter Costello, who was Treasurer in the Howard government and established the Future Fund, now chairs the Board of Guardians. The Board of Guardians is independent of government, however invests in accordance with the investment mandates determined by the Treasurer and the Finance Minister. 9 years later, the Medical Research Fund Future Fund was established by the Medical Research Future Fund Act 2015 on 26th of August 2015. Government credits to the MRFF were made annually between 2015 and 2020 and totalled $20 billion. These credits were funded from savings in the health portfolio budget and a transfer of $1 billion from the Health and Hospitals Fund, which was then closed. The MRFF reached its target balance of $20 billion in July 2020 and it now totals $22 billion. The MRFF currently disburses $650 million in research grants per annum. $6.5 billion has been committed under recently announced MRFF third 10-year investment plan. It provides funding for 22 initiatives under the plan to support life-saving research, job creation, local industry, and growing Australia's reputation as a world leader in medical research. Some key features of the MRFF include being flexible and responsive and able to capitalise on our strengths to respond to emerging issues. For example, the MRFF was able to respond quickly to the pandemic and has invested $1.395 million in research grants focused on COVID-19, and those research grants are still continuing. MRFF investments are priority-driven, with priorities renewed every 2 years. These priorities are determined by the Australian Medical Research Advisory Board, or AMRAB, as some of you might well have heard about. Each priority contributes to the key elements across one or more of the strategic objectives to achieve health equity and deliver health and economic benefits through transformative and innovative research. MRFF grants bring together consumers, stakeholders, industry, researchers and partners to deliver key outcomes to improve the health and wellbeing of Australians. We are continuously seeking to improve the way we fund grants and have utilised new grant models such as the MRFF incubator grants that support early stage short-term research projects and the MRFF accelerator grants that support large-scale multidisciplinary research to drive implementation and translation. The recently announced third 10-year investment plan sets out the Australian Government's plans for the use of MRFF for funding by identifying levels of financial support from the MRFF for 22 initiatives to be funded from 2024-25 to 2033-34. I'm scared by that. 33-34, that seems a long way ahead. These 22 initiatives span 4 themes. Patients. This theme aims to bring benefits to patients, including supporting life-changing clinical trials, funding innovative treatments and advanced healthcare and medical technologies. The Emerging Priorities and Consumer-Driven Initiative sits under the theme of patients. There's researchers. This theme aims to support Australian researchers, including to help build their skills and capacity, support their research in priority areas and assist them to develop and bring new research discoveries to the market. There's research missions. The MRFF research missions are large programs of work that bring together key researchers, health professionals, stakeholders, industry partners and patients to tackle big health challenges. And then following there's the research translation. And this theme aims to translate research outcomes into practice by building the evidence base to support the adoption of best practice care into healthcare delivery. So this slide provides an overview of the MRFF governance arrangements. Of course, it's complicated, it's government. The MRFF is established under the Medical Research Future Fund Act. The MRFF Act provides the legal framework for the distribution of medical research future funds. The Independent Australian Medical Research Advisory Board, or AMRAB, determines the Australian Medical Research Innovation Strategy and the Medical Research Innovation Priorities. The medical strategy and priorities inform where the Australian Government directs their MRFF investments in research. The 10-year plans are the mechanism of implementing the strategy and related priorities, and will continue to evolve to address the emerging health challenges and respond to the evolution of these guiding documents. So you can hear we're on the third 10-year plan and we haven't been around for that long. All initiatives funded under the third 10-year plan are subject to evaluation. The framework for evaluation is set by the Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Strategy to assess the impact of MRFF. We also have MRFF missions roadmaps, implementation plans and research plans that help guide the development of grant opportunities. From its inception in 2015 to June 2024, the MRFF has invested $28.5 million towards research to relevant multiple sclerosis. So this includes $17.7 million invested into 5 projects through the Emerging Priorities and Consumer-Driven Research Initiative, including this flagship project that we're about to hear about, $4.9 million to 3 projects through the Clinical Trials Initiative, $4 million in 1 project through the National Critical Infrastructure Project, and $1.9 million to 2 projects through the Clinician Researchers Initiative. So now that I've spoken about the MRFF and the background of that, I'd like to talk to you more about the Emerging Priorities and Consumer-Driven Research Initiative. The Australian Government has announced a total of $653.6 million over 10 years in the third 10-year plan for the Emerging Priorities and Consumer-Driven Research. The initiative supports research that addresses emerging priority health needs and areas of unmet need by improving patient care, translating new discoveries that are identified through research into clinical practice, and encouraging researchers to work together with consumers. Early priorities through the third 10-year investment plan include research on women's health that includes menopause, pregnancy loss and infertility, novel treatments for chronic pain and alcohol and other drugs. These areas for investment are in response to new emerging priorities included in the National Women's Health Strategy. I'm noting here that an early priority that was identified in the second 10-year plan was for the development of new approaches, interventions and therapeutics and assisted technologies for multiple sclerosis. The Emerging Priorities and Consumer-Driven Research Initiative aligns with the consumer-driven research and priority population priorities as set out in the Australian Medical Research and Innovation Priorities 2022 to 2024. The initiative has a strong focus on consumer-driven research, which is research that is driven by meaningful consumer involvement and partnerships. to incorporate priorities, needs, values and experiences, to deliver fit-for-purpose outcomes that can be adopted by consumers, carers, healthcare professionals and other end users. Consumer involvement is a key component to the initiative. In designing grant opportunities, we ensure that consumers and people with lived experience are involved and consulted with from the beginning when we're identifying research priorities that will help inform future grant opportunities right through to the end of funded projects. Consumer involvement is needed to increase more effective consumer involvement to assist in ensuring MRFF funding delivers research that is the best possible outcome for improving the health and well-being of individuals, their families and carers. And I feel like you're all over this, like you've got that. The consumer involvement is very clear and we're not very far into the day. The initiative also targets priority populations to ensure equitable outcomes for all people living in Australia by targeting funding towards biomedical discovery and health service innovation to address specific and unique health challenges for priority population. It is needed due to Australia consisting of a mix of socially, ethnically, culturally and linguistically and geographically diverse populations who may have very different health and healthcare needs. In addition, as the Australian population shifts towards a higher proportion of older people, there is a need for concerted research focus on optimising the physical and cognitive health and well-being of older members in the community. Research to address the differences in healthcare and healthcare needs is important to reduce the inequities in health outcomes. The initiative supports the development of new diagnoses, treatments and cures and the translation of new discoveries into clinical practice. It aims to assist Australians to benefit from new treatments for conditions that are in emerging priorities areas or areas of unmet need. From 2016 to 17 to date, the initiative has awarded 55 grant opportunities across a number of topics that meet the objectives of the initiatives. $468.4 million have been awarded and 59 grant opportunities were completed. With the new 10-year plan, this brings the total investment for the emerging priorities and consumer-driven research, total funding to $1,053.6 million that the initiative has funded. So if you're interested in the MRFF and would like to engage more, here are a few ways to be able to do that. Interestingly, about involving consumers, it's certainly become a focus of the MRFF. And as I said earlier, it's really good to see that there are consumers involved and have been involved in this flagship grant. Would also be really keen for people who have been involved in these grants and if they're interested in other grants to nominate for going on grant assessment committees, where certainly there's a push for consumers to be on grant assessment committees. If you're at all interested in that, you're supported through the project. Have a look at the NHMRC website in terms of the Medical Research Future Fund grant opportunities and going on a GAP committee. And that's it, and I look forward to the day. Thanks.